Yolanda and Patrick can do it, can do it, and also she's here. So we have to be going on, that's more of a, this director's. If you're. Everything's okay with that. All right.
Okay, well, I'm gonna start the meeting. He can walk in. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. The ones from the
Yeah.
and then the two from the middle school
Yes,
is.
Annabelle McComb and Emily Gonzalez.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, how's it going? You ready? It is now 5:31. We are calling the meeting to order. We will begin with roll call. And we have Mark,
Here.
Estea,
Here.
Joel.
Here.
Nick. Here. Rosemary here. Flag salute. Simran, can you go ahead and conduct the flag salute?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I would like to introduce Simran Kaur, who will be joining the board representing the high school. Welcome.
Yay.
And representing Abraham Lincoln Middle School, we have Annabelle McComb and Emily Gonzalez. Would you please stand? Welcome. Moving on, approval of the agenda. Has everybody had a chance to look at the agenda and go over it? If there are no questions, I would like if somebody would make a motion to approve the agenda. Joel made a motion to approve the agenda. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mark seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. We will now move forward with school reports. So Simran Kaur, can you go ahead and read your report?
Good evening. Selma High leadership students began the school year of 2024 and welcomed back our students with positivity and gratitude. Before our first day of school, leadership came together to make welcome back posters, chalk art, and positivity sticky notes to be displayed around campus. Along with that, we have begun to plan our upcoming events that are all happening very soon. To begin the school year tomorrow evening, leadership is putting out our annual Hoedown Throwdown from 6 to 9 p.m. in the Selma High Quad. And for the very first time, we are opening up our pool for our students. Next Wednesday is our first senior class event, the Senior Sunrise in the Stanley Stadium at 6 a.m. That same week, Friday, September 1st, is our very first school rally. Leadership is planning out multiple activities and games for our students. We have also have our first football game against Coalinga the same day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was great. Next, moving on, we have Annabella and Emily. Did I pronounce it right? Yeah.
Welcome week. This week is welcome week at ALMS. The theme is Let's Knock This School Year Out of the Park. Lunchtime activities include milk bottle knockdown, water balloon baseball, grand slam toss, and soak the stack. Picture day. This Thursday is picture day. Students will be taking their pictures throughout the day in their PE class. Student council. This week, fifth period classes are electing their student council representatives for the school year.
Progress reports. The first academic progress report of this school year will be submitted on Friday for September 1st. Progress reports are submitted every 3 weeks in order to keep students and parents informed and up to date. Schedule changes. This week, only students with their parent permission and signature are able to request a schedule change. All schedule change requests are due this Friday. Athletics. Girls volleyball, girls tennis, and football are all holding tryouts this week after school. This Saturday, our ALMS football teams will be practicing the CVAL football carnival at Dinuba High School.
Thank you. You guys did a great job. Moving forward, public input. Members of the public wishing to address the Board of Education on matters within the jurisdiction of the board, but not on this agenda, may do so during the public comment period for up to 3 minutes. Public comments on specific agenda items are heard under that item. For the public record, please state your name. So we're moving on to discussion and action items. Superintendent will discuss first day of school reflection. Video.
All right, so thank you. So tonight we wanted to start with a little video that we put together to represent our first day of school, actually our first few days of school here. And so the great job of putting this together. Thank you, Jill. I don't know if she's here. Thank you, tech team. Guys did a great job. Thank you for all of those who took pictures. We asked folks at the school sites, as you take pictures, please submit them, videos. And well, here it is. I wanted to do a special thanks to our staff everywhere. Leaders did an amazing job getting their schools set up. Our classified staff, our teachers did an amazing job. Our parents really bringing their kids in, asking good questions in our offices, and being very supportive. Thank you. Special thanks to Commander Garza and Chief Alcazar, who came out, visited a lot of schools, had police presence everywhere, really to help out with traffic and really show a supporting force. So I want to thank them. I'll thank our board members who showed up. I think I ran into Joel and Rosemary out there. Thank you guys for popping in and supporting, and just everybody out here, our staff working on construction, Marty and his team, Andrea and their team. Thank you, all of you guys. It was really a major team effort by everybody. I can't say enough from my group here that's with us today here, and those who are not here with us to make this an amazing first day. So thank you all.
Next, moving forward, we're going to go to superintendent evaluation.
Yeah, just informational, just so that the public knows and the board knows that in closed session today, you'll have a draft of the evaluation that you guys already saw and gave me feedback on. I put some feedback together in there so you guys can see the changes, and also the timeline for the evaluation of myself. It'll all be spelled out there. Just want the public to know being evaluated. Now you guys will be taking that in closed session today. Thank you.
Okay, great. Educational services internship presentation.
Good evening, board members. We're super excited tonight to have Fabrizio Lafaro here from Valley ROP to do a presentation with current and former students. So we welcome to the microphone, Fabrizio.
Madam President, members of the boards, Superintendent Gomes, and members of the cabinet. Ms. Rango, hello. Student representative. This is one of the, I'm always excited when we do this presentation because it's about the students. It's really about the students doing an experience, a work experience in what they study all year. And I am a firm believer that the more we can do that with students, the more they're going to solidify what they want to do after high school. And this was a great example of that. And I applaud the board and thank you, the board, and Mr. Gomes and everybody else to support this, because the internships are a great way for them to start their career and start kind of really knowing if this is really what they want to do. So they're going to share their experience. And so I'm going to invite them over here. And we have one of our instructors, it's Chief Roberts. He's our instructor for our firefighting program. And okay, you guys can come over here and they'll present. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm David Campos. I graduated this summer from Selma High School, and I was given the opportunity to do an internship through Valley ROP with the Selma Fire Department, and I thought it was a great experience for me. I did a lot of tasks. For example, like I took vitals from patients, such as like the blood pressure, and then the heart rate and the oxygen levels in their blood and stuff like that. I've also I extinguished two fires. One was near the Sikh temple, it was like in the field area, and the other one was it was like a vegetation fire out in the crops in the fields. And another thing I did, which was I think the highlight of my internship, was the CPR. I did CPR on a patient, and that one, it was I'm gonna tell you guys a story. So it was around like 9 a.m., 10 a.m. and I was at the fire station doing regular chores and stuff. And we got a priority 1 call. So it was lights and sirens. You get to get there as fast as possible. We all hopped on the truck and we started heading over there. And as we arrived at the same time as the EMTs. And so when I helped the EMTs out, and I grabbed their gurney out and I put it near the door. And we all walked in, and I saw a police officer already doing chest compressions. on the patient. It was an elderly man. I overheard cancer. I don't know if he had cancer, but I helped out. They told me to get the backboard out so we could transfer the patient on it. And as I was doing that, everybody was doing their thing. And it was Captain Peters that told me if I knew CPR, and I did. Thankfully, Mr. Roberts and the urban rural fire class here taught me CPR. And so I then got on my knees and did the position, the CPR position, and I began doing chest compressions for the patient. And it was, I believe, like 3 rounds, chest compressions and stuff like that. And we moved him because we had to get him to the hospital, obviously. So we moved him onto the backboard and we put him in the gurney. And so from there, we went to the ambulance. And then as everybody was getting ready and doing their thing, I started chest compressions again. And so the whole ride there, I was doing chest compressions while Captain Peters, the captain of the fire department at the time, was doing the airbag and stuff like that. And so when I did that, I guess one of the EMTs felt a slight pulse in his, like, they checked his pulse, and I guess he had a slight pulse and stuff. And so I immediately got out of the ambulance and went on the bag as we went into the hospital. And then from there, the doctors took him, and we went back to the fire department. And as it was my time to leave around like 5 p.m., they told me that he did end up living. And so I thought that was really cool. And, I think that was the highlight of my internship there. But yeah, I want to say thank you to Selma Unified for the opportunity that I had with that. And I want to say thank you to Valley ROP for the opportunity. So thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes,
So
sir.
what do you recommend it to the other students that doing this internships? Is more you or more feels better now? What is a real fire, dude? Those people?
I'm sorry. Can you
What
repeat
what do
that?
you recommend it to the other students?
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't understand the question.
Like, what do you in the future that the students want to do internship like you did?
Mhm.
So you think it's a great experience?
Oh,
you
it's a
had,
great
or
experience. I loved it every second. I was never bored there.
You never
I can-
bored.
I was never
I
bored.
bet.
No, I was doing something.
Okay,
Yeah, I
Great.
learned a lot.
awesome.
So
Thank
I
you.
I
Thank you.
have a question.
yes, ma'am.
So does this make an impact or a difference on what your future endeavors are?
Yeah, I really want to be an AMT now. I really want to go through that. I'm
Did-
sorry.
Did you feel rewarded after, because I know doing CPR compressions and all that is very draining. Just your first round is
Mhm.
amazingly mentally and physically strenuous, but how did you feel when you found out that you helped somebody survive because of your efforts?
It felt really good, but because that's what I like to do, I like helping people out and stuff. So when I did that, it was just like eye-opening. It was really nice.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you,
Thank you for
guys.
coming up here and sharing.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Venus Diaz. I'm currently a senior at Selma High, and I'm taking the patient care pathway. Thanks to this pathway, I was given the opportunity to be an intern at Wilson Elementary as a healthcare assistant. This internship gave me a feel about what the medical field is like and what it is like to take care of patients. During my internship, I gained knowledge in certain medical situations, from seizures to minor scrapes and injuries. Because of this internship, I eagerly look forward to becoming a nurse. Thank you, Valley ROP and Selma Unified, for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ronnie Luna. I'm a senior here at Selma High School, and I'm currently enrolled in the patient care pathway. And because of these classes, I got the opportunity to intern for ALMS as a medical assistant. I was able to use my medical knowledge to apply first aid, take vitals, and deal with patients. During this internship, I realized without a doubt that I want to go into the medical field and plan to major in nursing. Thank you. Valley ROP and the Selma Unified School District.
Good evening. I'm David Garcia. I'm a senior here at Selma Unified, and thanks to Valley ROP, I was able to take an internship over at SKF because of my career path for construction. I was able to open a new doorway and for a career and realize how they treated wastewater and all the components that went into it, like the lab portion, how they changed it from wastewater to drinkable water. And I was also able to see the engineering aspect of how all the plumbing would go. And I was able to go on actual construction sites and see the plumbing and how it all connected together and how it reached out back to the SKF department. I was able to chemically look at how the changing worked. I was able to change some of the water from wastewater back to drinking water, and I was able to look at the microorganisms that they use to eat away all the waste. I'd like to thank Valley ROP and Selma Unified for this opportunity.
Don't step away just yet. I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What the heck are you talking about wastewater and drink water in the same sentence?
Happens.
I'm not gonna look at water again the same.
So they have a whole process. I think it's like a 5-step process that they use. They get the wastewater and they churn it up. They add aeration, their microorganisms that eat away at the wastewater. And then they'll take it and they'll separate it some more. It'll go in this basin that'll spin like cement mixers.
Mhm.
It'll mix, all the water will drop and all the heavy stuff will stay where it is. If the water's good enough, they'll send it back to the lab team where they'll do a little more research on it to see if it's really, really good. If not, it'll go right back into the cycle until they think it's good enough to be drinkable.
Where does this wastewater come from?
It comes from toilets, sinks,
Stop
showers.
it. Stop it. Is that the water that comes out of our tap water?
Most likely, yes. Yes.
No. That's crazy.
I think everyone's buying bottled water tonight.
Yeah, right? Right?
It was very eye-opening to see the way it worked and the fact that our waste can be reused.
No. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Thank you very much for that presentation. I'm
Problem.
gonna have PTSD every time I drink a glass of water now. Thank you. Thank you all for coming up here. I think that's amazing. It's amazing that you guys came up here, presented and shared with us, and we're so thankful that you guys interned at the VROP.
Thank you.
Before we leave, I want to thank Sarah Villegas and Veronica McAllister. They helped the students get ready for today. Sarah is a CTE counselor here at Selma High School, and Veronica is the LRP coordinator. And one more thing I want to show. I want Andrew Rico graduated from Selma High School in 2019. And he took our urban rural firefighting program. And Andrew, where is he? Can you tell where you are now real quick? Because I wanted to show the progress, the students being intern students and.
Yeah, so hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Rico. I was Selma High School class of 19. Right after high school, I had a scholarship that put me through the Fire Academy, Fresno City College. Very great, propelled my career. I knew it was something I wanted to do in high school after taking the classes. And being able to do the scholarship, putting me through the Fire Academy and then an internship with Selma Fire right after, really propelled my career. It put me in a position where I don't think I would be at. I'm 3 years out of high school and I've completed my fire academy. I've been working with Selma Fire as a full-time EMT for about 2 years. I completed medic school, I want to say in May of this year. So I now operate as a paramedic with the city of Selma. And recently I'm in the hiring process or moving forward with Tulare City Fire to be a firefighter paramedic.
Wow,
Awesome.
awesome.
So it was great help. I'm thankful for the program and what it's done to me. And eventually I would like to give back and be an instructor after a few more years of experience. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Mr.
Thank you.
LaFaro,
Yes.
thank you so much for this program that you guys do with the Selma High School. It's a great program and a lot of kids, get the experience because of BROP. And the story that you shared with me on Jonathan, who graduated from here, is in a commercial pilot,
Yes.
right? So that was amazing.
And there's so many stories like that. I was talking to Yolanda today. It's really a partnership. We work so well with the high school, Mr. Lane, the counselors, Ms. Richardson. It's really, it takes a village to try to find the right students, to make sure that the instructors, to make sure that they have the content that they need. And then we find the partnerships that they can go do the internships. And then they really put the work in, they are putting the work in. They're putting that work after school. They're putting that work in class. They're putting the work after they graduate to become what they want to become. And really, it's really remarkable what they can do. So.
And this was only for the summer. You're gonna have one during the schools, the kids.
Well, hopefully, yes, we are hopefully gonna have more during the school, and we're talking about already after school programs and there were, I just want to let you know, you guys supported over 30 students with paid internship this summer.
Wow.
And that went from like 10 to 30, and it's only gonna grow. And it's, again, I appreciate all you do. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I'd like to say thank you for what you guys do. Thank you, students, for all your hard work. But thank those entities too that are doing these internships. Yes.
Absolutely.
That's a huge deal.
Yes.
And we're going out on a limb by doing it. Yes. So thanks to everyone. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you again. And thank you guys for being here tonight. Really appreciate it. I've already been bugging them quite a bit. I've been sending emails and we talked about all these. We're no short of ideas. It's sort of instructors is what we're getting to. So a lot of great things coming. Thank you again.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Moving forward, California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress, CAS results.
So for this presentation, we actually have Superintendent Gomes that will be taking us through our CAS assessment data.
Okay, we put my assessment hat on. All right. So yeah, I will start it, but then Ms. Dutra will also partake in the what next part of it, which is very important. So let me spend a little bit of time here on this first slide, because it's a very important slide to better understand how California now holds accountability for school sites, along with how the difference becomes of how we measure kids improving and schools improving. And so this slide helps us with the following slides. So let me just real quick, at the very bottom where you see proficiency in purple, in the past, California would most measure schools through proficiency only. That means they would only see a student who's proficient as providing a percentage of an improvement score, right? So if you notice that there's the not met and nearly met, you would have students that are in that area, but school sites would be, and districts would be accountable for those only crossing the line, right? That green line. That's how it used to be in the past in California. Well, that's changed in the past few years in a really good way, because we know that students come in possibly if they're newcomers, or if they have learning disabilities, or if they're struggling in specific content areas, they might be a little bit lower, but they actually might have grown a lot throughout the year. Well, Back when we used to measure in the past, they wouldn't take that account. And actually, they could have grown more than the student who crossed into proficiency. So what you see up on top is now how California is holding accountabilities for school districts. So you see here, what we put is each of those numbers, you see, this is an example of third grade ELA, and each of those numbers from 2177 all the way to 2642. Don't ask me why California uses that range, but that's how it is, right? So if you're a student who just shows up and you put your name on the test, you'll get 2177. That's the lowest score you can get on an ELA test, okay? So let's just take that account that there are students all over the place in our districts. And so what California now does is provide a score for wherever you are. So let's just assume student number one is little Ed Gomes when he first got here from Brazil, and he just didn't even know how to take the test. And I scored very low. I got a 2182. And then the following year, I take the test again. I've been instructed and done well. I've been part of intervention. And now I score a little bit down the line. Maybe I move from that 2182 all the way to 2214, nearly met. Well, there's a lot of growth there. So now California measures that growth and they'll give you a plus or minus. If I didn't grow, I get a 0. If I go backwards, I'll actually get a minus and it'll show up. Parents all get these scores, and it explains to parents somewhat similar to this. All our parents get it. And it says little Ed Gomes, he went forward 100 points. That's huge, right? Because the state of California only grows about 3 points a year. That's about the average that California grows. 2.5 to 3 is all they grow. So some students, even here in Selma, have grown 15, 20, 30, even some that I saw 85-point growth, which is great. And then there's some students that go backwards, right? So that's a little bit of the new model in which and how California rates it. So as we move now to these next slides, you're going to see the district overall. And you guys all have this with you. And you have the district by grade level. And the one that I want us to probably focus more on is the scale score. That's that -8 that you see in third grade there for ELA, and then the +15 for math. So in Selma Unified third grade as a whole, all our third graders, when you put all those numbers together, we went back 8 points. And then in mathematics, we went ahead 15 points. And then you see next to it, the proficiency level. That's kind of how the old way that we're measuring. And so I'm still putting that there, but California holds us accountable for this scale score only now, okay? In fourth grade was -11 as an entire district and a +10 in mathematics. Fifth grade was a -19 in ELA and a +1 in mathematics. Sixth grade, -16 and a +6 in mathematics. Seventh grade, a +12 and a +9 in mathematics. Eighth grade, -19 in ELA and a -2 in math. And 11th grade was -5 in ELA, but a +12 in mathematics for an entire average score for Selma Unified of a -9 in ELA and a +7 in math. And state of California is in ELA was a little bit lower for them, but they were still a +2.2. And then in mathematics, I believe it was a +2.7. So we almost about tripled in mathematics in our point scale, but we went backwards in ELA. Right? The good news only here, I would say as a whole, that we were at 42% proficient in our ELA. So we did go back a bit, and that's something that we're going to have to look at. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So now, just real quick, I'm only going to use the averages, but I'm going to go through every school. So every school is represented here. And I'm only going to read the averages out versus the individual grade levels. You can see it up here, and board members, you have it in front of you. So the Jackson average was a -8.5 in our scale score and a +12 in mathematics in our scale score. In Eric White, our ELA scale score was -16.25 and a +12 in mathematics. Indianola was a -35.75 in ELA and a -12 in mathematics. James Garfield was even in ELA and a +30 in mathematics. Big jump. ELA in Terry was -49 big drop. And mathematics a -21, also another big drop there. Roosevelt was almost even, a -1.75, but a +8 in mathematics. And Wilson, -10 in ELA, a +9 in mathematics. Lincoln Middle School was a -4 in ELA and a +4 in mathematics. And Heartland High was a -2 in ELA and a -3 in mathematics. Selma Independent was a -14 in ELA and a -42 in mathematics. Selma High ELA -16 in ELA, and math was a +12. And so that puts us with all the school sites. So these are now more finalized. They were very preliminary a while back. So the good news, math did bump up since the last time we saw it. ELA has been going down a little bit, and you saw there the final results where we do have some worries in ELA, but definitely some celebrations in mathematics. Mathematics is the one that's hardest to grow, and it's been the lowest one in our district by double, right? So we're 42% proficient in ELA and about 20% proficient in math. So ELA has always been a much stronger one. So it's good to see math starting to catch up. But some of the things that we're going to do next here, I just wanted to pinpoint them. Beginning of the year, we've had site leadership and teachers analyze the data down to the student level. Spent a lot of time building awareness, kind of what I've done here, but a lot more in depth around what these scores mean from the state of California. And then understanding the results. We did it with leaders. We asked leaders to do it with teachers. Using current student results, we kind of put together a strategic plan with metrics. You guys saw those, gave us feedback. We've taken it to all the teachers. We've taken it to parents to get feedback on our strategic plan. And our strategic plan addresses specifically metric-wise how we can improve on those and the goals we need to get to, which is nice. District will analyze areas of need based on these results and provide supports to curricular adjustments. Melissa will talk about those and providing professional learning in the areas that are needed. Quarters 1 and 2, school sites, of course, are going to be instructing students. They're going to be meeting regularly, utilizing formative data to determine best actions and plans so they can put action plans together in place to improve. So if you guys saw those school results, and let's say you take a specific school, like for example, you pull Terry or Eric White, and you say, hey, this grade level went down, this one went up. Why, right? That's always the root cause analysis. That's some of the work that's going to be done heavily in first and second quarter. District-wide interim assessments will be provided to figure out where we are, to do progress monitoring, because now we have goals and we have targets for the end of the year. So we want to be able to measure throughout the year if we're going to hit them or not. Mid-year, we're going to create cycles of continuous improvement. These are meetings that I'll be having at school sites in the middle of the year to determine where we are along the way so that we can ensure we're going to grow in those areas. And then we're going to build action plans when there is a need based on the progress monitoring. And then the final quarters, third and fourth, school sites will continue high quality instruction, implement modifications, interventions throughout the year to align the data. And then end of the year assessments will gauge the level of improvements. That's going to be your test again at the end of the year to see if we've met it. And so we're really going to be using progress monitoring throughout the year to see by grade level, by school, are we going to meet those targets that we're putting on there? And that's going to be a piece that that's one thing that I love doing. I actually spent a lot of my career doing that. And I look forward to working with school sites and ensuring that we meet our targeted goals. So from there, I want to move it on to Melissa on more of the what's next around the service to sites to improve this work.
Just want to make sure there are any questions on that data
yeah,
piece
let's do
before
the
you.
There's
move
going to
to
be,
the-
I have lots of questions, but I'm going to wait till you do your presentation.
It's an annual assessment. You'll see it again in the summer. And then we use our own local assessments to start correlating to say we're going to meet it or we're not, and then making changes throughout the year. We can identify the weak spots. Yeah, first is determining why, right? So I've already dug into some of it. I got some information today, some of it last week. I've been digging into why was it this much of a drop, or how did they gain this much? And then from those questions, you start getting answers and you go, got it. Okay, I understand what happened there, right? And you start understanding now we got to either fill those gaps or we can't make that mistake again, or we have to alter and make some modifications. So to your point, absolutely, that's data analysis that we have to do. Absolutely.
Okay, so when we had these, when this presentation came to us last year, we went down.
Yeah,
Our scores went way down.
Last year.
I don't think I've ever seen, unless I'm just misunderstanding, I've never seen 30 minus 35. I've never seen minus 49.25. Never. I don't think I've seen that unless I'm just misunderstanding with all the money that we paid out for consultants, for restructuring, for instructional aids. We have spent a lot of money just to see these kind of scores. Frankly, I'm shocked and disappointed.
So since we started this type of accountability through California, there has been some big drops. So if you look back at 18-19, there were some big drops there also. 19-20, it was a little bit different because then you got the entrance of COVID. So they paused the assessment. So there was nothing. So 17, 18, 18 and 19, there was some, I think 38s. There's a 53-point drop back in those days. I don't know how aware we were back then. Again, I wasn't here, but there were. So they've been around. ELA this time kind of had some similar drops that math had back then. Math was the big one that dropped. So almost flipped if you go back to those years. This year, math has gone up nicely. ELA has been the one that's dropped. So as far as has there been drops of negative 49, 44s, there's been some similar ones a few years ago. Yeah.
A few years ago, yes. I want to know what the scores were last year. I want to compare last year's scores with this year's scores.
So you can't really do that. And the reason why is because for 2 years, the state of California stopped the assessment. So this is the first year that we actually have data that can show plus or minus. Last year was a baseline. You took it. So there was no example. And remember, if you go back before COVID, they took the long test. That was the one with all the questions. This now is a modified assessment because it's kind of post-COVID. They're kind of getting us started back to the way it is. But if you go back to 17, 18, 19, there was some gains, but there were some definite drops, especially in mathematics. Yeah.
So my question is, I'm looking at this, and I'm seeing everything kind of go down, then all of a sudden we have this big spike in 7th grade. So what went right?
Yeah, it's when you look at what went right and what went wrong, this data here represents change. It doesn't represent growth. So what you want to do, so the difference in that, as you guys know, change is like 4th grade this year compared to 4th grade last year, not the kids improving growth wise. So there's still work to be done from the state on providing a growth measurement on it. But so right now it's hard to analyze what exactly happened between 6th and then 7th until you start really deepening the understanding of the data. That's why data analysis is critical. I'm a major advocate of using data to determine the root cause of what happened. So I'm doing a lot of digging right now. So me being able to give you precision reasons why, I don't have that yet. That's going to be a lot of work that we're going to do in the coming months to figure that out. Yeah.
And it's, if I remember this, it wasn't used to be by the numbers. It was by the percentage before, right?
Yeah, so it's last year's
Yeah.
7th grade students took a test. They left. The new 7th grade students took a test. This is the plus or minus you're seeing, for example. Right. So you have this cohorted data, which would be those similar students taking a test. Then they take a test the following year, and you see their projected growth there. So there's 2 sets of data. Both of them are important, but it depends what you have in your hands to be able to analyze that. Then, as far as finding root cause, you have to spend time to determine, for example, if you look at Terry, you have 1 teacher per grade level. So a little bit easier because you can say one person, right, completely carried the weight of the either improvement or the lack of improvement, right? So then you would go and look at what was it throughout the year that happened, Was it a new teacher? Was it an issue with professional development? Was it a lack of understanding of the curriculum? Was it that they didn't have progress monitoring themselves to determine there was an issue that's going to happen? Was there lack of, I mean, I can go on, and without digging into that information, you know, I've already dug into some of it, so I could explain to some extent some of them that I've already dug into, but to get a full analysis, it does take time. It takes a data team to provide that, right? So we have one data person who she's not longer with us. We're going to hire for a data position. So I've actually done a lot of nights doing data myself, but I'm a bit of a data geek. So I pulled the data, I dig into it. I've been meeting with some people to figure out a little bit of what's going on there, but it's going to take time. It'll take a little bit more time when you don't have the data in front of you either that gets down to that student level. So it's going to come, but it's just going to take a little bit more time.
Are you going to look into the curriculum too? Maybe the.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't do the analysis without determining curriculum, because you have to have alignment, right? Because what these test scores are is there's a question, and the question asks like, read the story, answer part A and part B, right? Well, you got to make sure there's alignment to the curriculum that you're teaching, so that when you're teaching curriculum, you're reassured that this curriculum is aligned to those questions at the end of the year. That's where the curriculum, to your point, it is massively important. Massively.
Okay, I have another question. So you were talking about maybe one teacher carries one grade or something. I need more clarification. So let's look at Terry Elementary.
Yep.
You have sixth grade. You have is that a minus 83?
Yeah.
Or
So
is it a minus 8.3?
I use Terry because that's an example of like, if it's a little bit easier to analyze there, because you're not breaking it down by 6 different teachers who all carried the weight of those scores, right? So if one person carries the weight, it's easier to ask that question. What do you think went wrong? What
Yeah.
happened here?
How many teachers do we have at Terry that are sixth grade?
One. So it's a little bit easier there, like for that example.
One teacher for sixth grade and the score went down minus 83.
Yeah, and that one actually, I got a little bit of information on some of those reasons, which, you know, those are now what I'm a big believer in. When you get the data, then you start modifying and figuring out what to do next. So good data or bad data, you have to action it, whether to replicate the good data, and if it's not good, then you got to find out the reason why and you make changes. There it is. I mean, I don't overthink those things. I go
Mr.
right for
Gomes,
it.
something that we've heard over and over, just in the short time that we've been here, is that we really need to have a balanced approach to literacy and mathematics, that because math was the area of need for so many years, there was a very large focus on math, and there's only so many hours in the day. And so when you just focus wholly on one subject area, it's really hard to continue progressing in the other area. And so that's something already that teachers have called out, that they really want that freedom to go back to that balanced approach of how are we addressing the literacy needs of students and the mathematic needs,
Okay,
right?
so you guys say we were concentrating on math, right? That was the big thing. So if you go back to Terry, third grade minus 21 in math, fourth grade minus 65 in math. So the average was for Terry was minus 21. So if I don't understand, if we're concentrating on math, why are the score, I mean, huge 65 for the fourth grade. I don't understand that.
Yeah, I'm not going to sugarcoat the fact that those are not good
Horrific.
results.
Those
Yeah.
are horrific
Yeah.
test scores.
Yeah.
I don't know about the rest of the board, but
Mr. Gomes,
Yeah.
I know this is an annual report. Do we have ways of measuring or growth during so we are not totally shocked?
That is
When-
probably the question right there, right? You can't go in as a leader or as teachers, as a school site, instructing, hoping that your scores this year will get better. And I think Trustee Kessler, you hit it, that you have to progress monitor. You got to find a way throughout the year to ensure. I always say this to staff, so I always said even to my own staff, is by Christmas, you should go, got it. I already know what's going to be.
I
And
thought
then
we
you can
were,
make
I
changes.
thought we were already progress monitoring. They were getting tested every quarter, or every something, and they were bringing all those test scores to the board, and we were able to see, are they growing? Are they not growing? And what's the problem? And then that's why we brought in all those consultants, and that's why we had, is it Kitty, or I don't remember her name, who would come and talk to us about math and everywhere we're going about math and whatever. And then I'm pretty sure that we were asking the site leaders to come and present their test scores, I believe quarterly or every 6 months or something like that. So we weren't shocked at this and we knew if it was working or was not working.
Yeah, and that's the work that it's going to take to determine if that progress monitoring was working or not working. Was it telling us what you see today, or was it not telling you what you see today? And that matters a lot. So,
So in short, what I'm hearing here is that these numbers and the numbers we got before don't necessarily correlate apples to apples. Because before it was percentage, now we have this plus and minus. But the underlying thing that we have to look at is the why. And that's the big question we have, is the why. And that's where now you're a new data person when we get one. And right now you are going through all the data, trying to ascertain what's going on. Because yeah, some of these numbers are not good. And yeah, like, Terry School is a good example. If you only have one teacher, it's easiest to ask the one person because there's one point where everything comes through. When you get to a bigger school, you have more teachers, and then it just makes it more complex. The complexity increases exponentially. So what are we, and what is the average parent to take from this report in a nutshell to go with and say, okay, I see these numbers. What exactly does this mean right now compared to what direction do we all want to see happen? I think that's kind of where the confusion is at.
it's a good question. Let me start with your first part of your question. When it comes to correlation, you want a ±3 on results to find correlation between your progress monitoring tools and that of the state. So for example, you could be a little bit low or a little bit high in those mid-year interim results and then go, I'm confident that what we do as progress monitoring tool, it's going to be pretty close, if not exact, right? So that's what the California even states, that you should be around ±3 on those results. So I don't know exactly what you saw mid-year last year, seeing that if it was that or if it was far off, right? So that's correlation work. As far as your other part about parents, one great news is state of California provides every parent here in Selma Unified a sheet of paper that specifies in different languages exactly what the score means. It explains the results, and then it has the student's name, what they received, and kind of like what areas that are low or high and why. So it's not, then that's where the school then provides or supports on the school site part of it. But I think California's done a good job of providing parents with a breakdown of the results. Then it's the school's job to then put the efforts in place to improve those. I don't know if we want to move to Melissa, to your slide, then maybe afterwards we can answer a few more questions.
Sounds good. So of course is now what, right? What's our focus area? And so as I kind of take you through that, I do want to start with who, because we've talked about there's lots of consultants. There's not now. So now you have a solid team in place, but we want you and the rest of the system to know who the team is. So if you can pass these down. The first thing we have for you is just a handbook. This will go out to the system, letting them know who exactly is in Ed Services, what does each person do, what's their contact information, so that there's clarity around roles. Ed Services Department has shifted since last year. It's grown a bit.
Thank you.
So it's inclusive of elementary education, secondary education, special education, student and community services, and technology services. So everything that's not in HR or business is in Ed Services. That's how I like to explain it to kids when they say, what do you do? And so this handbook is here so that there's transparency in who's doing what, so that we can move forward quickly with the work that needs to happen. So that's just the who. The next slide is really going to talk about the what are the focus areas for Ed Services for this coming year. This is not an exclusive list, right? There are things that aren't on here like reclassification. Of course, we're going to focus on our EL learners and ensuring that they're reclassified. But our big bodies of work that we're going to be focused on are, the number one is our streamlining to the strategic plan. in talking to the different staffs as we've gone from school to school, what I've told them is there are two main goals of Ed Services. Number one, supporting them and getting them the materials and resources and support or training that they need to be great. And number two, getting things out of the way. Oftentimes it's number two that's the most important. We have a lot of stuff here. There's a lot of programs. There's a lot of things that make it hard sometimes for teachers to just focus on the great, good first instruction that our kids need. And so really spending time with our teachers and leaders to figure out how do we streamline and kind of clear the deck so that they're just focused on the most important work so that we can move our students strategically forward. Common language for instruction. This for me is just a fair thing. We don't have a common language here around instruction. What do we expect to see in a classroom? What are students doing? What are teachers doing? We know there's good things happening, but if you don't have a common language, it's really hard to give feedback. It's hard to give training. And so we'll be working with teachers and staff to just come up with that common language so that we can talk about instruction in a way in which everyone knows what we mean when we say it, so that those expectations are in place for our students. What's the student experience? Math, we for sure need a math adoption. Don't know if you know that. We've had the same curriculum for quite a while now as the whole state has. We've been waiting and waiting for the state to finally adopt a framework. They have finally adopted a framework. We're going to move forward with an adoption for this year. Our teachers desperately need standards aligned curriculum. They have spent a lot of time writing and finding curriculum to fill in the gaps for the current curriculum that we have in place, instead of focusing on those instructional strategies and the needs of kids. And so we really want to go through that process to get some really great materials in front of them. Because it's been such a long time since the last math adoption, there's great material out there. There are really good curriculum resources. We're hoping, hope's a strategy, we're hoping that the state has the list of materials, but I will be honest with you, we're going to move forward. We can't go one more year into next year without having something in place. So the plan will be, we'll get a teacher team together, a steering committee for an adoption. We'll get teachers piloting, hopefully by November, December, so that by February, March, we're bringing recommendations to you. It's a great strategy to adopt as early as we can in the spring, so we can train teachers in the spring so that they at least have their online materials, so that when they go off to summer, they can do planning or feel comfortable and confident with the materials instead of coming back and having 2 days with brand new curriculum to prepare. It's just not a great way for an adoption. So we'll put a great adoption process into place and know that'll be coming forward to you. Teacher voice, of course, is critically important for us. The first one that we've been dancing around tonight is assessment. So do we know that the current assessments that we have in place are telling us what we need to know about kids, when we need to know it, and does it have a high correlation to the state assessment? And do we have the right assessments in front of our kids at all of our grade levels? And so we'll put together a teacher team and we're going to dig into that and make sure that our assessments are the right assessments that we need to be doing, and that they're meeting the needs that our teachers have. They're giving the right information to our parents along the way, because they're a strong partner for us, and just making sure that we've got strong alignment there in that aligned instructional system. We'll also have a teacher council that I'll be meeting with monthly, just to make sure of, I call it all the things, so that we have a constant 360 feedback loop going on what are the needs that are happening on the ground with our students, so that we don't lose touch with that, to help influence and support what teachers need to be successful, and staff. And then of course, teacher voice will be huge with our math adoption. We are very interested and excited to continue increasing our CTE offerings, especially in our middle school, making sure that all kids are getting those industry sector experiences. I come from a couple districts where those experiences start in kindergarten. And so know that that would be the long-term plan, is that kids are getting industry sector experiences every single year that they're on our watch, so that by the time they get to junior high and high school, they very much have a background and know what pathways they're really strongly interested in. We also are very focused on expanding our dual enrollment options, anything we can do to get more kids into dual enrollment courses. And so lots of great work already happening on that. We'll continue to work on that. We definitely have a culture and climate focus. You know, what's the culture of our district? One of the things is progress monitoring on that. We are not just progress monitoring around academics, we're progress monitoring around the skills that our students have in our social emotional development. My next presentation is for how we're going to do that. So I'll talk a little bit about that. We'll have culture and climate site teams. This is not PBIS. PBIS is structures and systems for how kids conduct themselves on campus. It's positive supports, it's things like that. Culture and climate is everyone. It's every adult. It's our bus drivers. It's our food service. It's our teachers. It's our leaders. It's our board. It's all of us. And so what does that look like in Selma? And so we'll be doing some work around that and then looking at the data and how we're doing on that. I'm sure you saw this one coming, an expanded learning redesign. One of our new directors, Karina Stepford, is working very hard with ECs to really create a new design for expanded learning so that there's equity, so that there's voice from our staff and what will be working at their school sites. So there's strong communication throughout and really strong planning throughout, and just ensuring that our kids are getting the very best experiences possible through our ELOP work. Attendance is not going away. That is still a focus for us. Kids can't learn if they're not here. So there's lots of things that we've got in place around attendance, whether that be through the community schools grant or whether that be even from a new program that we have through A2A to help us and at the school sites to reach out to parents to let them know how their kids are doing when coming to school and how to improve attendance. So still definitely important. Safety will continue to be important to us. We will continue to work to ensure that kids are psychologically and physically safe on our campuses. Both of those are critical. So we'll continue that work with our leaders. Streamline processes for educational options. That work is very much in progress with one of our other directors, Yolanda Jimenez Ruiz, and with Nathan Lane and all of their teams, really making sure, looking at data, making sure that our kids are getting what they need to graduate, really looking at who's credit deficient and then which programs should they be in so we can quickly get them back on track. Some great work happening there in partnership with lots of other folks, making sure that we are not missing any students, right? We want to make sure that all of them get what they need. And then just a basic systems and structures to increase clarity and communication. That's definitely been a call out. And so we're going to work hard to do that. The last thing is just really important to Ed Services is that we start and end with students with everything that we do. You saw tonight that we started our board meeting with kids. They were current and former students. So at our board meetings, schools will be coming. They'll sign up for each different board meeting and they'll bring a class of kids or a team of kids or a club, and they'll do different things for you so that we can showcase the great things happening in our schools, and they get to come to the board with their parents and present, whether they sing or perform or Peach Blossom. I've seen some of the sign up. So that'll be a great way for us to start our board meetings because that's our why. That's why we're here. So that will be happening. These are the type of things that I'll be bringing back to the board to go deeper into, to give you a deeper look into each of these areas of the work that we're doing, in addition to everything else that we're doing. So that's just a brief overview of the work of our department this year.
On this educational strategic plan, on these test scores, let's go back to Terry. It's the easy one because it has one teacher apparently. Let's go back. Where are they at? Okay, so in your strategic plan, where is it for, maybe I'm just don't understand this, but where is it for the ELA? What are you going to do for ELA?
So there's a number of things we can do.
Is it in here? Is it in here?
Yes and no.
Okay.
These are
not
just
enough.
highlights of some
Okay.
focus areas.
But you highlighted math, but math, they're doing okay, but you're highlighting math, but you're not highlighting the ELA in there.
Well, let me speak of that real quick because
Okay.
we are not, we're, so
Not okay,
let me try to explain. So this is ELA, right? We're actually in the valley floor pretty high, like we're tied with Fowler, other districts are way higher than Fresno Unified. Here's our math. One of the lower ones in the entire Central Valley, maybe only Parlier is lower than this. Okay, this is how it is. This did this to it all. Okay, so I just want to make sure that we still understand where we were. ELA was double, okay, in scores than math. So math needed to rise and it did. So thankfully, I'm not saying it's not something we don't analyze for ELA, but I don't want to say that ELA is now the one that's low. It dropped considerably as far as some schools. Other schools went up a little bit, others stayed the same. As a whole, it was a -9 points. I have no doubt we can recoup that by next year. And so, but I just want to know where we started, that ELA was double in scores of that of mathematics. So it was very critical that math had gone up because not much further you can go down in math. So I just want to start with that.
So in this strategic plan, we have Teacher Assessment Council, Teacher Council, Culture and Climate Focus, Board Meeting Student Showcase, Streamline Process for Ed Options, Systems and Structures to increase clarity and communication. What are we going to do about accountability?
So I will just share, this is not a strategic plan.
Okay.
Our
This is
strategic plan is what Mr. Gomes is
Okay.
holding. This is just highlights of ed services of some focus areas that we're going after.
Okay.
For example, what's not on there is reclassifying ELs. We're absolutely going after that and supporting sites with, what does that look like, right? How do you support LTELs, long-term English learners? That's a body of work. We will continue to support around literacy because literacy is not just ELA. That's across all of subject areas, including math. Like, how do we increase literacy? Those are professional developments. Those are things that we'll be doing with our leaders and our teachers. This was just highlights of some of the things that that we are especially focused on. But please note that the work happens at the school site, right? And the conversations that teachers are having in their PLCs, the conversations that leaders are having with their teachers in their weekly meetings with them and professional learnings when they're looking at common formative assessments, right, of students and ensuring and seeing what their teaching looks like. That's really where that work is happening.
And
But-
I can answer the strategic plan part. So to your question, President Alanis, so if this was next year at this time, now that we have targets, our target for ELA and mathematics is that we will improve by 5 points, okay, on our scale score. By 5 points is what we're putting on our target because it's higher than even the state average, right? So we put 5 for that. So in this case, we'd be celebrating math because we went up +7, celebrating math, the harder one to go up. And we would be looking at ELA saying what happened. That's district wide. Then you would go school by school and you would find a school that, let's say they went up on both. They met both their targets. Congratulations. You've met both the math and ELA portion of what the strategic plan has asked of you. Then you would go to a school site that hadn't done that, whether it's one or the other or both. And you would start digging in to the why. Right. Hopefully you're not doing too much digging. And the reason why I'm going back to that, what you guys all pointed out, is that you're doing progress monitoring the year. If I'm right now trying to guess at what happened last year, that means there wasn't good progress monitoring during the year to have already told you like, hey, we're going down. So that's what we need to have here every year forward in the district. That's something that matters a lot.
We were doing progress monitoring.
So if you were, then
We were.
at that time, did you get information on what was happening?
We got information. What they were making a little bit of progress. They were still not state level progress, but within the district, there was a little bit of progress. Not this.
So my question is alignment. I'm going back to what Mark mentioned because I'm now worried because if you and us believed one thing and something else happened, that means your correlation's off, right? That means hey, I believe we're going to be doing well in the LA, or I believe this, and then test comes out and you're far off, that means your correlation's off. It means your tools are not aligned to the assessment that's being done. And so that's got to get fixed. That's always a big district issue until you do this to it. I'm not 100% sure what you saw and when, but I'll reassure you that if we are not aligned, this will continue to happen. So we have to be aligned with our assessment tools to that of the state measurement.
Which is why the assessment council is so critical.
Critical.
We've got to make sure that what we're progress monitoring is actually telling us what we need to know, and if it's accurate and if it's correlated.
So if I'm to understand correctly, if the progress monitoring was aligned to what we are seeing now, theoretically, then you should be able to tell us right off the bat, here's what went wrong. But since that's not the case, then the question is, was it aligned? And that's where you guys are at right now, is trying to gauge what exactly happened, where exactly are we, and is it aligned, and are our tools correct? If not, to be retooled. Would that be a correct assessment?
Yeah, and actually, Mark, I would even say, I'd go further than that and say last year, you would have already known the problem and would have been able to intervene. That's the power of aligned progress monitoring tools. Not even now. Now it's too late. And it doesn't matter now if you've figured out the problem. It helps some, but it's really good to know the problem while you're in the middle of the year, right? So that you would adjust so that you would not have any drops. And if you were to have drops, you would have an answer in the middle of the year saying, I'm going to tell you, we're going to drop and this is why, which is okay. I'd rather that than I was surprised by the result. So yeah, progress monitor that aligns itself and is correlated would have informed us mid-year prior to the SBAC assessment, the state assessment.
And then going with that same theory. So that would mean if, according to that theory, if it was properly aligned, then like you were saying before, we should have seen drops of maybe plus or -3. That kind of tells us, okay, our tools are pretty accurate. And since we're not seeing that, there's a good chance it may have not been aligned at all.
Yeah, it's all about, and you guys, those of you who work with tools, your tool alignment matters. If it's aligned appropriately to meet that need for whether it's a bolt that's going to be overpressured or something else. Same thing applies here. If the test is being asked of certain things, right, and your tools are not aligned, it's apples and oranges, right? You're going to work really hard, but then you're going to miss it every time. So it matters to align. Some district takes many months to years to align those tools. Here, what's one of the things that we're really studying is how aligned are they? If they're unaligned, then what do we need to do about it? Is it purchasing better tools? Is it aligning the tools we have? It's ensuring your curriculum is aligned. All those matter. So that way you're targeting the Common Core assessment versus targeting something else, right? And missing every time.
And the complexity of it is also, we could have completely aligned assessments, but if we're off on the scope and sequence, right? If I'm 2 months behind because my kids maybe came in behind and I had to do a lot of reteaching and filling in some gaps and I never caught up, then it wasn't that kids didn't learn something. It's that I just didn't get there. And so you might see slides on that. We're conducting an autopsy right now, trying to figure out what happened. So there's a multitude of reasons why. It might not be the assessment. It might just be they were behind in the teaching, right? Like that's why the conversations happening at schools right now is so critical, because our boots on the ground, that's where they can go back and dissect and say what happened. How do we shift that so that we have a different result this year? Because that's what's important, not, so much what happened, but what happened so we can shift it so that we have a different result for this new group of kids that's in front of us.
So then the short answer is what we're seeing here. It's premature for us to draw any real conclusion, hard conclusion on it until we know why. Until we know it's aligned, until we know that this is an accurate assessment. Right now, I'm looking at these numbers, they're all over the place. I can understand why, we could get upset and say, well, it's a -85. I also understand what you were saying that, well, if we were here, we then went down 85 and down here, we moved up 7. that the numbers don't necessarily give us an accurate picture mentally of what's going on, let alone may not be aligned correctly. If
Yeah.
what I'm hearing what you're saying, which means that coming to a conclusion, we can't come to that yet.
Yeah, and it's very, you got to be very careful of making a conclusion that's not accurate, right? Because you actually lead you in a worse course. And I'll even say, even growing, improving score, if it was a plus 85 and you didn't know why you got it, it's almost to me not much different than if you didn't get it, right? Because not knowing why you got the result, you can't replicate it, right? So it's lucky. So I'm a big believer in progress monitoring will tell you why you got the scores that went up, no, why you got them when they went down, right? And then it informs you to either replicate things that are good, right? And it informs you to make changes. So even our plus of mathematics, we got to find out what were the things that worked to cause that, so you can keep growing upon it. But yeah.
I don't think that we could accurately say that these are not accurate numbers, because they are to me, when these kids took the scores, this is the data, which you got to find
Oh,
out.
they're accurate. Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, so it's, to me, this is hard data. This is hard data. This is a 49% drop, or 46, whatever you want to
Points.
call it, 83, 85 drop, negative drop. And that's horrifying. I don't care, fine. We've got to find what's going on.
Mhm.
People are going to should be held accountable, because these kids depend on these teachers to educate them. And we've had councils before. We've had Dr. Shepherd going around from school to school, collaborating with teachers. I've had teachers email me and text me that they hate the math curriculum. They hate it. They hate the books. They hate the way it's being taught. The test scores went up.
Yeah, that's why you got to be careful of assuming one thing and it's not. So you got to diagnose it correctly.
Math
right?
test scores went up, and some of the teachers hated that math curriculum.
And you don't know exactly what causes, so we got to be careful. Got to make sure to analyze it appropriately.
Wow.
And again, you're speaking to one grade level at one school that went down. Analyzing that is the job of a school to find out. I know they spent time digging into their data to determine that. I'm sure they have some reasons already, if not more than that. That's our job to do every year. We have to keep analyzing our results.
When do they have their next, when are the students tested again?
May of next year.
No,
April.
they test every quarter, or they
Oh,
test
those
every.
sometimes the
Like
state tests.
benchmarks?
The
Yes,
benchmark,
benchmarks.
Yeah,
When's the next
the
benchmark?
benchmarks are going to be November.
Okay, so in December, we should have the scores from the November test.
Yeah, there's going to be a mid-year report, and you saw it on my piece to where.
I'm curious to see where that's gonna be.
Yeah, no, the question is accuracy. So I want to say this is we're going to ensure that there's tools that are accurate to what we're assessing them on. And so that's some of the work we're doing right now to ensure how accurate they are. Because again, if you're taking those tests and it looks rosy middle of the year and you're still getting negative results, that's not good. Opposite, right?
Why is that? Why is that?
It's the tool, like back to the assessments that we have here don't match what the state is asking us. It's not the level of rigor. maybe
And
it's not
that's what I
aligned.
asked the math consultant. She's like, oh, we went up. And I said, but we're going up within our district, which means nothing. It's nothing compared to what the state is, because you were supposed to be up in math 900 and something. The score was 900 and something. We're at 200. That means nothing to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're talking.
Okay, so she came up, I can't remember her name, the consultant for the math, and she's like, well, we're going up and we're doing good, and I said, whoa, we're going up within the district, but as far as the state goes, we're supposed to be in math 900 and something, that scores are 900 and something, but our scores within the district are 200 and something. That means nothing to me. The 200 means nothing to me, because you're just comparing scores within the district and you're not comparing the scores within the state. And
Yeah.
she's like, yes, you're right.
For state comparisons, that's where this result that you saw today matters,
Okay,
because
so
yeah.
don't tell me scores within the district that we're doing great. Compare those test scores with the district test scores, and then that tells me that, yeah, we are doing good. We are moving up.
You always want to compare to the accountability of California, which is the state, and the state will hold us accountable. So when you do see a school site that's dropped considerably, there's a report that comes out of the state, and then you could get categorized into either ATSI or CSI, which are these levels of accountability that the state will put your school in or your entire district in, depending on the amount of lack of growth, right? And then there's an acknowledgement of improvement, like what we had in mathematics too, of improving. So that's the estate accountability that'll be coming to us probably around January.
Okay, so our test scores went down so bad at that. The test scores.
In ELA, if that's,
ELA.
yeah.
So what's the state gonna say about that? It went down so bad.
yeah, it determines on the school. So some schools, the ELA went up, some schools it stayed about what they call maintain, which is fine. Other schools went down. So the ones that have
Well,
gone down considerably and have a drop in it enough that the state deems it appropriate to put it in a accountability system. They calculate that. I don't have that. They'll let us know in January.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
curious.
Oh, wait, we're gonna have a plan to help that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to. Yeah, that's the job.
So in better news,
You know, I know you guys are new and you guys are jumping in the fire, you know, into the frying pan or whatever you want to call it, but it disturbs me to see those scores. It really does.
we all want good things for kids.
Right.
Right. And we all want the best for kids in Selma. And I think
Yes.
that's a universal goal. Absolutely. So I
job.
appreciate that. So we had a great start to the year. We had pre-service days, of course. Here's some pictures from those. Our leaders engaged in a couple of days of learning with our superintendent and as a team to really talk about the strategic plan, to talk about the work ahead, to talk about their leadership and how to guide folks through that. You can see some staff members in some of these pictures giving strategic plan, because this is not Mr. Gomes' plan. This is not the board's plan. This is a plan for all of us who are incumbent to have ownership in all of our students improving. I love the picture in the top left. That was here at Selma High. The leadership students led the staff through a Family Feud game to really have some fun and culture building. Just see the Terry staff down there and the Roosevelt staff. So just great things happened. New teachers had a couple days of great learning, all 34 of them getting acclimated with the district. And so even the very famous bus tour by Wayne Dixon, you'll see on the bottom left for our new leaders. If you haven't taken it, hit him up. He tells you all the things about Selma Unified, past and present. So really a great opportunity for learning to happen and just to really start the year on a positive note. And then, of course, you saw the video, but we had a great first day of school across our system. For the first time, we did deploy all of our district staff to be at school sites on our first day. Nothing more important than our kids getting here. Staff did a great job, from food service to our bus drivers, to our teachers, to our classified staff and leaders, in welcoming students and creating welcoming environments for them. Just a huge thank you to our police force, who was at every single school site. I went to 5 schools and couldn't shake them. They were everywhere. But just a great support out there with the community, and just a really great, smooth start. Lots of planning it takes to welcome our families and communities. And we're looking forward to a really great year and to bringing this information back to you on how the year is going. That's it for my update.
Okay, moving forward. Educational services update. Is that what you just did? Yeah.
It's the,
Approve, I can't even see now. Hold on. Approve Panorama Educational Culture and Climate Survey contract.
I'm almost done, I promise. It's what happens when I didn't talk for 2 board meetings in a row. I'm just going to pack it all into one night. So we have, the next one. Thank you so much. So we have a contract coming forward tonight for Panorama Education. I just wanted to briefly, I think 4 slides and 5, take you through what it is so that you have an understanding, because this is a new platform for Selma Unified. What is Panorama Education and why do we need it? That's the question, right? And so Panorama is a platform that I know I've worked with in the last 3 districts that I've worked in, and Mr. Gomes and many folks here have worked with Panorama. It's a platform system that provides custom questions and nationally normed questions to find out the social emotional development, or SEL, you've probably heard, social emotional learning data. It's for students. So our students in grades 3 through 12 will self-report how they're, the questions to the answers around kind of that Castle 5, how they're feeling about school, how they're feeling about themselves, how they're feeling about the world around them. In the earlier grades, teachers can do that for students. They will fill those out for students. Staff will take these surveys. So we get information from our certificated or classified and our administrators. These are, again, questions to find out what the culture and climate is at our schools and in our district. I have always really appreciated, especially the classified feedback. We don't get that as often as we should. And so we really get some good information on what the needs are from our staff members and how to support them better to really excel at their jobs. And then, of course, our families take these surveys as well. So we can really hear from our community, how do they feel welcome? What are the things that they need? How are they understanding the education system? What are other things we can put into place to support them so that we can partner with them stronger? These surveys have multiple languages, including Arabic. I thought of this board when I saw that. So we're able to access this for all of our folks. We also can use Panorama for LCAP needs assessments and surveys that we need to do for LCAP. So we're able to really maximize this contract. There's 2 to 3 survey windows per year. The reason it says 2 to 3 is typically we will do students and staff 3 times a year, parents twice a year, so that they're really encouraged to do the LCAP one in the middle as the second one. So we don't have survey fatigue for them, as we need their feedback on how we're providing the resources through our LCAP. It also has what we call a dynamic playbook with teacher lessons directly aligned to the student needs. So it's also embedded with an entire curriculum, but not from one curricular source. Panorama pulls from all the different SEL curriculums that are out there nationally and puts them all into a bank, which teachers really like because they're not really stuck with one program. They can look for specific needs that kids have self-diagnosed that they need support in and pull lessons to directly impact and support students. We're able to look at whole child data through the Panorama platform. It speaks to Aries. So if I'm a teacher, I can pull data on a student on their social emotional competencies and development, and also their academics, and also any intervention data that we might have on them in one spot. And so because Panorama works with Aries, we're able to do that. It helps us monitor the social emotional development progress. That's really important as a district, that not only are we following the academic progress, but also the social emotional, because that could be a why also for academic issues. We definitely saw that coming out of COVID, that it might not have been academic things, but it was actually things happening in students' worlds. Could be trauma, could be things happening in the family or the neighborhood, but we don't know that unless we start tracking that. This helps us to do targeted supports. Like I said, we've invested heavily in mental health technicians and social workers and things like that. This helps them to pull students into targeted groups and then do targeted assessments so that we know that kids are getting what they need when they need it. We're also able to watch a student's growth in social emotional development, because this is something that they'll take year after year here in Selma. And then there's also check-ins. So this is really kind of a way for us to ensure that our targeted interventions are having impact. And so instead of waiting until there's another assessment 3 months later, if I have a group of students, let's say, I always pick on the same group because it's a common one. Let's say we have some girls at junior high that are really struggling with self-efficacy, and we pull that group and we work with them for 6 weeks. We're doing daily, possibly weekly check-ins so that we can see, are the groups that I'm pulling and the intervention that I'm doing, is that actually having an impact on students? So we're able to see that in very fast real time. I have a video. I'll probably skip it. Is that okay? I'm sure you guys are okay with that. I'm going to skip the video, but you have it here. It's 1.5 minutes and it gives you an overview of how the program works. This is just really here for, I keep saying social emotional learning. This is just the definition of social emotional learning. And what we know is that when we really focus on social emotional learning and those competencies, there's an average of 11% gains in academics and improved student behavior, stress management, attendance, all of those things. And so it's not something that we ever want to walk by. This is part of the education of kids. And so on the right, as we call the Castle 5, those are the 5 main areas that we look at when we're talking about social emotional learning or development. And again, this is just another why we're really focused on attendance here. What we know is that highly engaged students are 57% less likely to be chronically absent in school than those that report out low engagement. So the more that we know if a student is disengaged and we can focus on that and bring them back in, that's going to very positively impact their attendance, which is a goal for us. Again, you can see for behavior that they're 2 times more likely to have more behavior incidents if they are struggling with behavior. But if we really focus on that, we're able to lower incidents of behavior. And then the last one, again, students who report high self-management, this is a biggie, are 75% less likely to face failing grades. And so again, focusing on this is really important, and knowing where our kids are is critical. So what does the data look like? I know when we met with board president, she said, what does the data look like? So I'll just give you a little sneak peek. What teachers like about it and staff like about it is really easy. It's really easy to look at the data. So here's one example. This shows you those 5 CASTLE areas. You can see self-efficacy, self-management, right? Social awareness. It shows you as a snapshot, here's how this school is doing in general. So they're doing a really good job in self-management. I would guess behaviors are pretty strong there. But growth mindset, kids believing that they can maybe learn, kids believing that they have an impact on that. They might need to focus there. And so this gives you like a big picture. A teacher can see this kind of a chart for their classroom as well. And then it breaks it down by student. So then you can see as a student, what areas come up as a red or orange that we really need to focus on. And then what areas are maybe a green that's a strength. And then that helps you to pull kids together. If I'm a teacher and I've got 5 students who maybe, who I'll keep using self-efficacy, are red in self-efficacy, I'm going to pull them together. I can go right into the playbook, ask for a lesson on self-efficacy and do that with the kids, or have someone do that with them. It's very user-friendly. Another way to look at the data is like this. So as a district, we'll be able to look at our data and say, where are some green areas that are really strong, where are some areas in red, and then learn from each other, right? And then dig in. Data only is a starting point for us to ask questions, right? Which is exactly what you guys were just doing with academics. It's here's the data. Now we have questions to ask to figure out. That's what this will do as well. It'll give lots of different data. I walked by this, but this is just a really cool feature, and then I'll keep going. But on the left there, you can manipulate the data to say, I just want to see girls, or I just want to see boys, or I just want to see our African-American students, or I just want to see, so you can start seeing if there's some trends in your school happening that you wouldn't normally have been able to see. And so it does it at the click of a button. It's just really quite user-friendly. With the contract, it includes professional learning, survey development with the question banks. If we use our own questions, and I know there's some that we want to ask for our LCAP, those won't be nationally normed because they're our own questions. If we use questions from them, then those are nationally normed. So then we can see how are our kids doing versus how are they feeling versus kids all over the nation. This is in over 2,000 school districts and millions of students. And so the bank is deep. And again, there's various surveys like the LCAP survey. I just asked them, can you send me some from some districts that have already done it? And so they're doing that so we can get that started. We do monthly calls with them. All teachers and admin will have platform access. And of course, all teachers will have playbook access. So it's a really great platform. It's a great program. And on the right, you'll see our strategic plan. Mr. Gomes has already called out that we have to have metrics around our social emotional growth, and this will get us those metrics. This is a 1-year contract, but I would hope if it goes well that this is something we would continue doing every year so that we can see year after year growth.
What is the district current?
Yeah, so right now we currently use really Healthy Kids Survey, California Healthy Kids Survey, which is fine. It does give us, some good data. The problem with it is it's only 4 grade levels, right? And they're every other year, the grade levels. So it gives you a good dipstick for like, how's the district doing? What's the health of the district? But it doesn't really give you that year after year, month after month data on individual students that we're trying to impact, right? And so that's really all that we have in place. And so that's why so many districts have gone to a place like Panorama to really get that specific data around students so that it's actionable.
I have a question as well. I see that it could be very helpful. My maybe concern, maybe not, that's not a good word, but that you said it meshed with Aries. So when you have this data, who sees that in Aries? That would be my concern. Who else actually sees it?
It's a great question. Someone in one of our meetings brought that up and I said, oh, the access thing is a big body of work. So it's just the work that we have to do with panoramas, and we do it right now with Aries with the academic data. It'll be the same process. Who has access to what and why, who needs it. So an intervention teacher would need access to multiple grades, things like that. We'll follow the same process that we currently do for our academic data. There are some items on there like, do you need immediate help? Those kinds of things, we'll flag those right away so that we can support kids in real time, but we'll follow that process as well. It's a great question.
Could you put up that data example again?
Which one, sir?
That
This
one.
one?
Yeah. Okay. Maybe it's just a little paranoid side of me. But I keep hearing this thing in my head that says the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And this can give us a lot of great data. Don't get me wrong. But it's a little bit too big brother for me. The one thing I remember as a kid that you and your generation doesn't get the luxury of having is that I could make mistakes. I could do completely stupid things and there's no record anywhere. You and everybody in your class makes one mistake and it will follow you the rest of your life. That's not fair in any way, shape, or form. This is reminiscent of what China does with their social credit score. Because technically, with this information, you can tell what a person could possibly do based upon statistical analysis. I don't like to have my kids' life put into a perspective where someone can look at it and say, oh, we're not going to give you this because we think you'll do something. Now, I understand the safety aspect because you can look at that day and say, okay, we have these trouble spots here. These kids might be trouble. We should give them extra help. But I can also see the downside of it. And I can also see the abuse of it, especially if there's a data breach, a big abuse of it. I don't think it's worth the money to do that. If it was anonymized where we didn't know the students, if the student's name were never captured or the staff name was never captured when they did this analysis, all for it. But the moment we attach it to somebody, I cannot see backing it. It's just me.
And I think, we'll share the questions with you. And I think that might help you to frame the types of questions. It's like someone on campus cares about me. I feel connected to an adult on campus. I feel like my academic needs are being met. it's questions like that. It's not questions about I've done drugs or it's not that at all. It's around, I know how to manage my emotions.
Yeah, but my question to that would be, we've done surveys like that in the past where we've asked drug use, we've had tons of research studies done in school districts all over the place, especially in the state. Right now, it may not be that, but it will eventually become that, because the one thing you can always count on with the state is that you give them an inch, they'll take a foot. We allow one small feet, it never goes away. It always adds up. Bureaucracy always wants more. So let's not start down that path if we can avoid it. I mean, again, just my opinion.
Yeah, I've done these surveys in the past, and I mean, I think they save lives. When you can have a student, I mean, it doesn't ask personal questions, but there are questions around feeling safe at school, being supported. And when you get enough students saying that and you find out why and you can stop it, I'll take it all day. I know the China system, it's not tracking kids for a career path at all. It's not doing that. It's providing us an opportunity to intervene, and that's our jobs. And if I get it, like as more tools come, they get scary. I think there are tools that we can use to intervene on kids, and I'll tell you, I've used it. I've never seen a breach that made a child feel uncomfortable.
Yep.
I think if there was any version of that, we would step in front of it. Ms. Dutra would definitely speak to that. So speaking from experience, utilized it. I think it's very supportive. The other thing that we have here that is anonymous is the teachers' survey of how they feel about their school. Are they safe there? Very powerful. The parents, it's anonymous. The parents one, also same thing. Do you feel like your child's being supported? Yes, no. That helps us, because now when a parent says no and it's happening at this school, we can intervene. I can step in.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of power to this information that we can support our kids, our staff, and our teachers, and so on.
Then why couldn't we just anonymize the students?
Well, you can do that, but in this case, you wouldn't be able to support an individual or a student that's struggling to the point where they're asking for help only through that survey, because it's too difficult for them to go to someone, or they don't have someone to go to.
Yeah, but that's not something that can be, I understand where you're coming from. And I don't want to get off topic because we have a meeting and we have to go through the meeting. Every time I go off topic, all these guys look at me like they want pitchforks and torches.
Stop it.
But I look at this as like, okay, if we anonymize it, we can get good data from it. I understand why you want to have the student's name attached to it. It's just, these systems always end up going the same route. Historically, it's always shown the same, no matter what country, what era, what time, it always ends the same. The moment you start attaching tracking data to something, you start looking for patterns. The moment you start looking for patterns, you start singling people out. We've seen it in the past. We've seen it be used to cause instances of, for instance, the old housing, when they were having the home loans back in, was it President Johnson's era, where they were given different unpreferential treatment, discriminatory treatment to minorities over white neighborhoods because they're looking at the data. We could see where this is going to get utilized and abused. Or at least I can see that. I don't like it. Anonymized, fine. You can't track who was what, but it gives us an idea. As for, solving and saving kids, the answer isn't this. The answer is connecting with the kids individually, the teacher to the students to each other. We don't have any, you don't have that anymore. Everyone's just stuck to their device. Our own technology has been our own undoing. And I'm in IT and I'm saying that. And we design these systems, hopefully, and make life better. Instead, we have everybody walking around like this. That's not good. But that is what we have to work on. This is just giving us a picture. And this can get abused. Anyway, that's just me. So I'll stop talking now.
So do we, anything else? No. Do we have, does anybody else have any questions regarding this? Okay, do I have a motion? This is an action item, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So do I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve this item.
Nick makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Estea, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
Aye. Two opposed. Nick, Mark and Rosemary opposed. Estea and Joel and Nick approved. Did I say that right? Mark? Okay, okay.
Well, we knew what you meant.
Okay, let's do a roll call. Mark?
I say no.
Okay.
Vote no.
Estea,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
Nick, Mark, Nick,
Yes.
Rosemary, no. Motion passed. And moving forward, nothing for human resources, right? So we'll go to facilities, Teeter agreement for architectural services for the Selma High swimming pool modernization.
Yes, good evening. Based on the age, condition and recommendations from our last inspection, our swimming pool here at the high school is due for modernization. Teeter has submitted a proposal to provide the design and construction oversight services. The work will include removing and replacing swimming pool plaster, tile, decks, drainage, will retrofit the lights. There's a whole lot of things that will be done. It's also going to be a modernization of the mechanical room. Based on if it is approved today, it would bidding would go out in April of 24 with the start of the construction estimated to start June 2024. This will be a significant project. Mr. Lane and Mr. Israelian will need to coordinate with a local district for our water polo and swim teams to share a pool with another high school. But it's definitely needed and it's going to be quite an amazing project.
Does anybody have any questions?
How long of a project will it be?
From start of design to end 18 months.
Oh, wow. And how often do we do this plastering? I know you do it every so many years.
I believe the pool is about 15 years old,
Ooh.
so it's due.
Time.
Yeah.
Do anybody else have any questions?
Do we have somebody from the theater here in audience?
No, I didn't think about bringing them in. I can tell you that initially Mr. Contreras, Bert, did have someone that he knows that's in the pool world come out and look at it initially to give him an idea of what was going to be needed. And then it was at that point that it was determined we were going to need to bring an architect in for the project. It was going to be a much bigger project. And so Tony did come in and walk the whole area with Bert and his consultant that he was working with. And I believe Marty also walked with them during that as well.
Did we invited more architects to walk on that day?
I did not on this one. Mr. Pavone has been handling all the projects here at the high school, so it was just an automatic to have him come in and do it. I did have a conversation with Mr. Fedor, and I will do that moving forward, make sure I have both architects coming in and providing
Yeah,
proposals.
compare the prices because
Yeah.
there are so many architects have different prices on it.
Right.
And
Yep,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I worked on many pools with the different schools on it, so there's
Okay.
quite a bit of difference on the cost wise on it.
Yeah,
And,
yes.
On hog designing too, if the theater's done before, they should give us some kind of what they've done before, examples,
I see what you're saying. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I will definitely keep that. And then what I did forget to include is that based on what is needed, the estimated cost of the project will be 2.4 million. So it is an extensive project.
Do we normally go out to bid on any of these or?
So this is for the architectural services. Once the DSA approves the plans, absolutely we'll go out to bid.
Okay.
And their fees is including administration during the construction,
Absolutely.
so they will have somebody full-time here.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, Tony always had, so even though Mr. Pavone lives in the coastal area, he does have someone from the local office that always is always on our projects here locally, so.
So
Is-
are we in danger of doing further damage to the pool and if we don't move ahead with this project?
Yeah, actually, the inspector basically said, if you don't do this soon, you won't pass inspection, so we wouldn't be able to use it
So
anyway.
it's something, yeah,
we're-
so we don't have the luxury, the time to go out and shop the architects like.
No, I
that
mean,
type
at this point, we really need to get this project moving. But I will definitely invite both architects to come in and provide a proposal for future projects.
Does anybody else have any questions? Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Estea made a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Nick seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Moving forward, Mark Wilson Construction, ratification of change order 6 for CTE building project of Selma High.
Yes, so this change order involves 7 different areas. 5 of them are district requested, one of those being a credit. One is for the architect and one is unforeseen. Again, anything that is not part of the district's request or an unforeseen will be discussed at the end of the project. And yes,
That's it.
that's it for that one. Yes.
Okay, so does anybody have any questions? Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve this item too.
Nick made a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Joel seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Number 3, Mark Wilson Construction, ratification of change order 7, complete domestic water line connection to Cal Water at Selma High School.
Yes, so as you recall, well, some of you might recall, back in November 2016, the district first initially received notice from the State Water Board that that there were some concerns about the length of time that our well that most of the campus is connected to. It was the water getting too low and then being unusable. So since we had to connect the CTE building to Wright Street, we thought this would be the most opportune time to continue connecting the rest of the campus. Our food service and one other area are already connected, but it's connecting the remaining of the campus. We will still continue to use the well for irrigation and I believe the swimming pool, correct, Marty? Yes, and the swimming pool.
So the existing wall will use for the landscaping?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Mhm.
So that way the cost would be less to the school district,
Yes.
probably. Yeah, but the
Yeah.
city probably charge more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and if we went through the city to do it, it would have taken a lot longer. I mean, we're still waiting for, well, I think everybody knows they started the connection here for just the CTE building. We have everything. It's set up so that we can extend to the rest of the campus and they are going to be diligently to not interfere with access to water on the campus during the rest of the project.
Where are they gonna connect? Is it on Wright Street or is it on Thompson?
Wright Street.
All right.
We had to connect CTE here and
Okay.
so it just made sense to just add on to that. Also save quite a bit of money, not having to go all the way back to Thompson.
Must be big line then, 8-inch or something, right?
8-inch, right, Marty? Yep,
Wow.
8-inch.
Pretty big
Isn't-
water.
Wasn't that what they were doing with traffic out here or is that something different?
You're talking about Indianola?
Well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Indianola, yeah, theirs is due to TCP levels. And that one's quite a bit more extensive because they're out in the country and you have to cross county line and all of that to get into town. And that one is estimated to be about 2.5 million. Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions? Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve this item 3.
Nick made a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Joel, second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion passed. I do have a quick question. It's not on the agenda, it's under facilities, but I did back to school night at Terry. And I noticed that the shade structure is like out in the middle of nowhere, but it doesn't cover any of the kids' play equipment. Why is that? So the kids are playing out there in hot equipment. I think
Right,
it's
the
kids-
shade structure is an outdoor learning environment. It's not.
Okay, there's a
playground.
shade structure. There's shade structures over all the other schools over the play equipment.
Not all the schools have that.
Okay,
Because we were looking at providing that for all of this. We were looking at replacing all of the outdated or non-compliant equipment based on age and providing some sort of shade structure over that. And the initial estimated cost, including some of the, like the ground covering was over $5 million.
Okay.
So we're going to prioritize and we're regrouping on that.
okay, because there's a structure, a shade structure that's going out on Terry, from what I understand, and it's kind of in the
Right.
grassy area out there. And I'm like, what's it going to be for? And
That's the outdoor learning environment shade structures that we're putting in on every site. So once the shade structure is complete, the benches that we bought for each site will be attached to that concrete pad. And so it's an outdoor, it's a place for them to learn outdoors. It was part of the during COVID, the push for a better, a more well ventilated area for students to learn. So all of the sites are going to have that. There's one at each site.
Okay. Moving forward, business services, Barnes welding supply, proposal for CTE advanced manufacturing equipment.
Yes, for the advanced manufacturing, we need to, the only piece of equipment we needed to add besides furniture, which we just ordered today for that class, is the plasma saw. So that is for this piece of equipment. All of the other pieces of equipment that were in the plans, Fabricio and Mr. Morales had been working together to get it ordered while the project was moving along.
Does anybody have any questions? Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make go ahead. I'll make the motion. I'll second it.
Mark made a motion to approve, Joel second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passed. Moving forward, a Meteor Education LLC proposal for, I can't even see. the-
TK furniture.
TK furniture for new class at Terry.
Yes, as you know, we had to add that additional TK class at Terry relatively quickly. We did order them some temporary furniture to get them going for the year. And this is to order them the same furniture that all TK classes will be getting throughout the district.
Does anybody have any questions?
Make
Do
a
I-
motion.
Do I have a motion? Do I have anybody who can make a motion to pass?
I make a motion to.
Nick make a motion to pass. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Estea, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passed. Next one is consolidated application spring collection.
Yes, twice a year, we must submit our, what's referred to as a consolidated application for state and federal categorical funds. This is referred to as a spring collection, which the last couple of years has actually been approved in August. It's not released till summer. With this application, it does provide for us various federal programs and results in about 5.3 million of our funding.
Does anybody have any questions? Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Nick made a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mark second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passed.
Thank you.
Moving forward to the consent agenda. Items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine and are acted upon by the Board of Trustees in one motion. There is no discussion of these items before the board vote unless a member of the board, staff, or public requests specific items to be discussed or removed from the consent agenda. It is understood that the administration recommends approval on all consent items. Each item on the consent agenda approved by the members of the governing board shall be deemed to have been considered in full and adopted as recommended. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at the consent agenda and all the items under there? Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to. approve.
Estea made a motion, Rosemary seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. The consent agenda is approved. Moving forward, board report. Does anybody have anything any member have something they want to discuss?
Yeah, first day of school, man.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Really?
You start.
All right, batter up. First day of school, it was awesome. Got to see the district in action, and I'm so proud of every one of you. It was amazing, from the bus drivers and custodians to teachers and everybody, all hands on deck and crossing guards. And I got to watch my grandson start kindergarten, so that was extra cool. You know, from there, I started at Roosevelt. From there, I went to the MOT, right, where the bus barn out there. That was awesome. Thank the bus drivers for getting our kids to the school. For without them, our teachers have nobody to teach. So it's just awesome. It's a team effort. It was neat. Got to stop by Wilson. I really want to brag on our police department here in town and Chief Rudy. They were present everywhere. It was phenomenal. I don't think it was awesome. I don't have a bad thing to say about anything that happened that day. The night before, which was Wednesday night, I was coming back into town late. It's like 7 o'clock, and there's a bunch of cars at Indianola, and there's people out there just decorating it to the nines, right? Getting ready for the kids the next day. And I pulled over, and I wanted to thank these teachers for getting ready for our students, right? And there wasn't a teacher one amongst them. They were all parents. It was the parents club. And it was amazing. They did a phenomenal job, and it was so fun to talk to them. And they were excited. There was kids out there. Anyway, the whole thing was and it makes this whole experience worth it. So that's all I got.
Anyone else?
I do. Well, I attended the certificated and classified breakfast, which was awesome. Thank you, Mr. Gomes. You did an excellent job. And so did the nutrition employees. They did an excellent job. So I thank you. And the Selma High band, they were awesome. I was doing the fight song because it brought back memories. Right, Joel?
Oh, yeah.
So anyways, that was a very nice way to kick off the year. Also, I wanted to start with something nice. I want to have something in between and end with something nice. But so I got a lot of calls on lunch. Well, not a lot of calls, but I got a call that could have been a lot of calls because it was a really tough one that were very upset regarding the lunch situation at the school sites because of the cafeterias. But the only time when you have a person that's upset, let them talk. Just let it ride out. And they said it's going to get better. And it actually did. The weather got better. So it did. And I talked to a lot of students and just asked them, how was lunch? How was how did you do? And they then proceeded to tell me what they had for lunch. And I said, no, where did you eat lunch? And they said, oh, we ate lunch in our classroom or whatever, and did not have any complaints from students. So that was kind of nice to hear. So, and then I delivered some backpacks to Eric White, to Garfield, and today to Terry School. Because I'm a Latina elected official, I belong to a group called Latino Elected Officials. They give us backpacks to give to whoever we want. And so I did that. That was kind of nice to do. I also, last night I went to the open house at Wilson, and everyone looked like they were happy. I was so excited. Not one complaint. Everybody was happy, having tacos. Saw Mr. Dixon out there. I don't know if he was having a taco or not, but But anyways, I talked to the principal, talked to, so lots of people out there, and it looked like things were headed off to the right, on the right foot are there. But that's, I think that's about it for me.
Anyone else?
I just want to say thanks to Superintendent take caring Laura stuff. So Laura, stuff going on all the schools, constructions, and you guys, doing best you guys can. I know there's a lot of work out there, a lot of HVACs moving around and so much. So just, make sure is that, kids are safe out there and the constructions is going to be for a while. And well as the parents, and let them know what's the progress going on. So it's awesome jobs, and Mr. Lane's doing awesome jobs. Everybody, all the staff doing it excellent. We are here for back you guys up. So thank you again.
Thank you.
We always thank everyone else except IT, who was running around with their heads cut off during the first day back to school to ensure that everybody was up and running. And I want to thank you guys. You guys do an excellent job, and we all couldn't do anything without you guys. Mark, did you have anything, or
Just to.
3 minutes and under?
Huh? Just to welcome everybody back to school. Good first week. It's nice to see everything back and to see direction. I want to thank the superintendent for that, giving direction now. I like what I'm seeing over here with the educational services, giving clarity as to what actually, who does what. So now we have some responsibility and we have some accountability. And it's a good first step. I think this year is going to be a positive year for everybody. It's going to be a little rough, but we'll get through it.
I don't have anything. Superintendent report?
Yeah, I started the board meeting today talking about the first day. We had a video there, and it doesn't happen without the team. Again, there has been, and Miss Trustee Kessler brought it up. Lunches were a little challenging on the first day, but guess what? Adapt and overcome. Is that a military term? Well, that's what happened. And I want to thank, I'll start with Ms. Dutra and her team, who was out there supporting at sites. She created assignments for everyone at the district office to not be at their desks, to be at the school sites. We were all out there, hands on deck, helping out from getting parents in to lunchtime and everything. Mr. Dixon talked about getting supports for sites where we had additional custodians, additional classified staff, additional teachers who came out and helped, so that we get kids in the classroom eating their lunches in the air conditioning. So that would all work fine each and every day. I would call, he would haul. It was fantastic support for the service of our kids. And then I can't say enough here, Andrea and her team, Marty, I'll tell you, there's a lot more days coming of that, but it's constantly being on contractors, ensuring that the facilities are in best shape. And when they're not, they're right back on it, ensuring folks are doing what they need to each day and every night so that construction can happen as efficient as possible. So I want to thank that team, Marty, who's here, Ms. Temple, who's we brought in also to support us with facilities, who's helping hand to all of this. So I want to thank all those groups. Yes, parents have been fantastic. Our leaders have done some back to school nights that we've been a part of. Beginning of school year has been great. I've heard a lot of positives. And of course, our staff, custodians, the bus drivers, to secretaries picking up those phones each and every day. I'm probably going to miss folks. And then our IT, they kept following me every place I went, or I was following them. I can't say enough about them. They were on all day, all night. So thank you all. Appreciate it. Fantastic first few days here. A lot more good to come.
Okay, great. Next, moving on, open forum for closed session. Notice to public comment on closed session agenda items. This opportunity is provided in accordance with the government code section 54954.3 to allow for the public to comment prior to the board's consideration of any closed session agenda item. Do we have anybody who would like to make a comment before we go into closed session? Seeing as there are none, we will now begin closed session and the time is 7:38. Thank you for everybody for attending.